Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be a review and wear test of the brand new Huda Beauty Glowish products. I picked up both the Multidew skin tint as well as the soft Radiance bronzing powder. I also have both of the brushes to share with you today. Before we get into the video, if you're new here, I'm Yori. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Hope you're going to enjoy it and find it helpful. And if you do, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up while you're watching and consider subscribing and joining our growing makeup family. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the continued love and support on my channel. I really appreciate it. And a special thank you to the first 5 commenters on my previous video. I always enjoy hearing all your thoughts and chatting with you in the comment section. Those that have YouTube channels will have the YouTube logo and be linked down below in case you're looking for some fun new channels to watch. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and get into the video. For reference, my skin type is going to be mature over 40. It is dry to normal skin, leaning more towards the dry side. I don't have any struggles with acne or enlarged pores or anything like that. My struggles are with under eye circles, hyperpigmentation, signs of aging. I have really crinkly eyes, and usually my foundations will settle in my smile lines as well as in my forehead lines. I enjoy light to medium coverage foundation, and my preferred finish is going to be a dewy finish. So when I saw these products teased, I was instantly intrigued. As I said in the intro, I picked up all 4 products. I picked up the Glowish Multidew Skin Tint. I picked mine up in the shade number 3 Light. The bronzer I picked up in the shade number 3 Tan Light. And I have both of the brushes that she launched with the collection. I have the Airbrush Finish Face Brush, which is really a fan brush. It's a duo fiber brush. And the other one is an all-over bronze brush, which is also a duo fiber brush, and both are synthetic. The handles, she said, are made of post-consumer recycled plastic. In this video, I'm going to guide you through the application, and I'm going to be doing a wear test. As I'm speaking to you right now, I've actually only been wearing the foundation maybe about an hour, 2 hours or so, as I completed my makeup and did some morning chores. The skin tint retails for $37. You do receive 1.35 ounces of product. This one is made in Italy and you have a 12-month shelf life. The packaging is going to be in a squeezy type tube, but you do have a pump. The Glowish Soft Radiance Bronzing Powder, I picked mine up in the shade number 3 Tan Light. For this one, you do have an 18-month shelf life. It's made in Italy and you receive 8 grams of product. It's interesting packaging with this one. It's a plastic container, but then when you lift up the lid, you see that it's just the circular part that opens. I'll turn it on its side so you can see it a little bit better. There's no mirror or anything like that, but here you have the powder, which is a marbled type of powder, such as you'll find in her eyeshadow palettes. With the 2 brushes, I don't think I mentioned the price. The bronzer brush is $27 and the face brush is $31. I paid for all of these products myself. I was able to get a peek at them in store, and so I actually modified my original shade selection with the foundation, but I'll chat with you over that when we get into the application section. I will be checking in with you throughout the day as well as show you how the foundation looks in natural daylight because I will be running some errands today. Let's go ahead and get into the application section. I've got my Sephora bag with all the brand new Huda Beauty Glowish products. I actually did an order online pickup in store order, and I ended up switching out the foundation color because I thought that the one I purchased was going to be a little bit too dark. So the new Glowish collection includes a Multidew skin tint, and this one is supposed to give you a dewy glow, healthy looking skin, fragrance free. I also read on the Sephora website that it is supposed to be waterproof, so I'll be doing a wear test today. And this is something I didn't know. Glowish is supposed to be the love child of Huda Beauty and Wishful, where flawless finish interacts with skin caring ingredients for the ultimate glow up. So here's your outer packaging. I had originally ordered the shade number 4, but then I swatched in stores and I decided to go with the shade number 3, which is called Light. Usually I like to go with something light, medium, or medium with neutral undertones, and the reason why I hadn't bought this one online is because it was described as light with peachy undertones, and I wasn't sure if this was going to work. But in my most recent video, I was using the Huda Beauty Stick Foundation, and I selected the shade Toasted Coconut, and that one does pair up to shade number 3. So you get 1.35 fluid ounces, and this one is made in Italy. It's very simple packaging, but it does have a pump, and then the coloring is actually iridescent. It looks white, but it's actually iridescent. I also picked up the Soft Radiance bronzer, and that's what this packaging looks like. This one is labeled as a buildable tan seamless application velvet finish. It is made in Italy and you get 8 grams of product. Now, even though this wasn't the shade that was mapping to the foundation I chose, when I saw them in person, this was the one I was going to prefer, and it's number 3 Tan Light. And here's what that packaging looks like. I did swatch these all in stores and I was more comfortable with this shade. 18-month shelf life on that one, and on the foundation it is a 12-month shelf life. There were 2 brushes as part of the collection as well, a dual fiber brush for the foundation, and actually the bronzer brush is also dual fiber, and it comes in these kind of Ziploc bags. I've actually liked the brushes I've purchased from Huda. I have the one from her tan tour and the concealer. So I wanted to try these out from her line, and I'll let you know if I think they're worth the money. They're kind of expensive. Whenever I'm trying out a new foundation, I like to use a primer that I know doesn't interfere with it, but it's a little bit hydrating. So I'm using this one by Ciate. It's the Watermelon Burst Hydrating Primer, and I'm almost finished with it. I really like that one because it's hydrating. It has a little bit of tack, but it's not too sticky. I don't like sticky. So let's go ahead and take a few pumps of this. So here it is on my dish. It's not very runny at all. The tone is looking pretty good. I'm going to try both the brush, but I have a sponge handy also, just in case. Right off the bat, it's kind of reminding me of the MAC Face and Body Foundation, but with a lot more radiance. Like, this definitely has some shine to it. And since the brush is dual fiber, I feel it spreading the product really nicely. It doesn't seem to be absorbing it. It is moving it around really well on my face. One thing that I'm noticing is that even though I don't really have pores, I don't have a lot of pores because I have dry skin, because this is so glowy, so shiny, I'm seeing that it's actually emphasizing the few pores that I do have. Kind of like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter might do. So this might be a good mixing foundation as well. Let me go ahead and try the other side with the sponge. So I'm finding that I feel that it's absorbing to my skin a little bit better with the brush application. Just a little bit, but it probably will sink into my skin both ways. It blends out really easily, super easily. I definitely feel that with the brush, it's sinking into my skin a little bit better. I think I actually like it with the brush a little bit more, so I'm gonna go ahead and apply that. I think that it could be that the brush is absorbing a little bit more of the excess, and it's not leaving any streaks. I could see this being a skin tint that you could apply just with your bare fingers. And you saw I left that sitting on my forehead for quite some time, and I didn't really have any trouble blending it out. I'm still on my Spanish soap opera kick, and I'm doing another look from another one of the characters. I've been watching so much TV, and so I did my eyebrows a little bit heavier than normal because my look is going to be focused on a matte lip color, and the brows kind of balance out the bold lip. So here we have one thin layer applied, and let me tell you, this is dewy verging on slightly metallic. I don't want to say the Tin Man because that's not necessarily true, but if you have anything that you want to be covering up, this is going to emphasize it. I just want to let you know because it's highlighting things on my face that I'd never seen before. I'm not saying that I'm upset at it because my skin is pretty good. I gave you a good look at my skin before so that you can see, but I think Glowish is a very appropriate name. I'm surprised she didn't incorporate SPF into the product because in this kind of product, usually people do. So let's see how well this can be built up. I'm going to apply a little bit more in the areas where I prefer to have more coverage. I have a breakout here, so let's cover that up. It is buildable, but it's definitely sheer. Now, ordinarily I would apply concealer, but I don't want anything to detract from the products themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the bronzer first, and then I'll do the concealer afterwards so that I can show you before and after with only these products applied. The packaging is kind of interesting. These products always, they make me a little wary. They're kind of like the Hourglass blushes where they're marbled and you wonder, you know, how consistent are they from one to the other in the same shade? If you're marbling this way, I think that there's going to be some inconsistency there, and so it may be luck of the draw. When I went to the store, they had 4 of these on display. They didn't have the lightest shade, but they had 2, 3, 4, and 5. I did swatch them in the store. They're not going to be super professionally done swatches because I was just kind of doing them there on the sly, but I'm going to show them to you so that you can compare. The light one definitely wouldn't have worked for me. It would have been a face powder on me. I'm not sure what the lightest one would have looked like. This one had more of that bronzer kind of effect where it was a little bit of a cooler tone. I didn't see much difference between this one and the 4th one, but the 5th one was very different. It's supposed to be a buildable tan and have a velvet finish, so it might tone down some of the glow that I have going on from this one. I probably won't be needing any highlighter today. I'm also really curious to see how this brush is going to apply it. I'm just kind of swirling the brush all over to pick up an even amount of product. Now I do find, I'm applying it right now just on my forehead, I do feel that it is toning down the shine in those areas just a little bit. So if you can compare my forehead to say my cheeks, it's kind of toned down. Let's apply just over here. Well, I think I went in with a heavy hand. Start blending. It does blend out well, and like I said, I feel like it is toning down the shine that I had from before. So maybe we can compare. I have to admit this isn't my preferred type of brush to apply bronzer because it's a little bit firm. It's not very flexible or fluffy, and I prefer a fluffy brush. I could see myself using this brush more for cream blushes and things like that, so I'm not disappointed that I have it because it seems to be well made. I just don't necessarily think it's applicable to this specific product. I don't know. So far, I'm liking the way that this is cutting the shine a little bit because as much as I love a dewy finish, I don't like an all-over metallic finish. So I do appreciate that. I am finding that it is buildable, but if I had gone with the shade number 2, which I think is the one that maps to the foundation shade I chose, I don't think it would have been dark enough. So I would maybe scale down on the foundation you think you might match to and scale up on the bronzer. I compare the sponge versus the Huda brush for the foundation, so I'm going to compare a fluffy bronzing brush. This one is an IT Cosmetics for Ulta powder brush. This is something a lot more aligned with what I would use with bronzer, just to see how the application changes. One of the things that kind of turned me off to this powder was that as soon as you went to shade number 3 and beyond, it was saying that the powders were red toned, and maybe I don't understand undertones very well, but it didn't seem red undertone to me when I swatched it. So if that was something that was kind of scaring you off, I don't think that you should let it. So I'm noticing I like the application with a brush much more. I feel that it gives me a more diffused application, and even though the brush is larger in size, somehow I feel I have more control because I'm working with lighter layers. Right off the bat, I know I will never use this brush to apply the bronzer ever again, but I really see myself using it for cream blush and things like that. I'll probably try it that way in the rest of my makeup application, just wipe this one down a little. All right, so here we have a before and after of the Glowish products applied. No concealer, nothing else on my skin. I think she definitely got the name right with Glowish. My skin is looking pretty good though. So just so we know how we're doing on time, it is 10:43. I plan to wear this all day and I'll do a couple of check-ins. I'll also show you how it looks in natural daylight. Since I do plan on going out today, I'll be wearing a mask and everything else, so we'll see how it holds up. It doesn't feel tacky in any way. It feels a little less tacky in the areas where I applied bronzer. I'm gonna finish the rest of my face and I'll be back to show you the final look and let you know how I'm doing at that time. All right, so I finished my makeup. It's 11:29, so it's been like, what, 45 minutes? I wanted you to have a good look at the makeup look. I didn't apply any powder products aside from the bronzer itself. Let me actually give you a quick rundown of the makeup look. On my eyes, I have one of these Bare Minerals. They are the Bounce and Blur eyeshadows. This one is in the dusk style, and I'm wearing this on my inner corner and brow arch, this on the lid, and this along the lash line. I also applied just a tiny bit of the bronzer in the crease area to blend it out. My blush today is a cream blush from Nude Sticks. This is the Nudies Bloom in the shade Poppy Girl. I did actually end up applying a little bit of highlighter. This is the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek in the shade Wisp. I'm still on my Lisa Eldridge kick, so this is the Lisa Eldridge Velvet Lip Color, and this is in the shade Skyscraper Rose. I'll have all the details and products linked in the description box down below, but so far everything layered over really nicely. I did use setting spray. I used the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray because I'll be going out. I'll have to be wearing a mask, and we'll see how it does with that. But yeah, I'm very happy with the makeup look. I think I nailed it this time with regard to the look I was going for. So yeah, this is how we're doing. I will see you in a few hours. So I wanted you to see the foundation in natural daylight. It is now close to 5 o'clock, and I've been wearing the foundation for, goodness, like 7 hours now or so. And I did run my errands, and I had to wear a mask while I was inside a facility, and I did feel that the foundation rubbed off a little bit in my lower cheeks over here, where obviously the mask was sitting on my face. Overall, it was actually quite hot in there too, and I started sweating, and so I'm kind of using my forehead as a guide, and I don't feel that the foundation has worn off. Just kind of testing the waterproof claim, and I was getting a little bit sweaty. So now I'm gonna face the sun. Here I'm facing the sun, so I'm in direct sunlight so that you can see the foundation. You can kind of tell the parts that are glowing a lot versus the rest of the, you know, like right here where my mask was sitting on my face, that it's no longer as shiny because it's faded off there a little bit. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that it's looking. It still has that metallic vibe to it, and I still feel that it does emphasize pores. So if you struggle with enlarged pores, you're probably going to want to use a pore minimizing primer when you use the foundation. But yeah, this is my check-in, and probably my last check-in will be in a couple of hours, shortly before I take off the makeup. All right, guys, we're back. I'm doing my final check-in, and we have had a day. It is 8:35, which basically means I've been wearing this foundation for about 10 hours. So I think that's a pretty good wear test. Also, by the time I edit this video, I will have worn the foundation at least one other time. So if there's any questions that you still have, you can leave them in the comment section, and I'll be happy to address those. So I wanted to have a close-up here so that we can talk about how the foundation is looking. I mentioned during my check-in around 5 that because I was wearing a mask, the foundation wore off kind of along my chin here. I was also wearing like a sweater since I was going in and out of like air-conditioned buildings, and that kind of rubs up against my chin as well. So you can kind of tell that the foundation has rubbed off here. I haven't touched up in any way. I also didn't powder it. I just applied some of my Charlotte Tilbury setting mist when I was done with my makeup. Like I mentioned before, I'm still seeing, you know, a little bit of the texture here where I have pores, definitely here. I'm not seeing a lot of settling into my lines, but there is like a little bit of a gradient difference between my marionette area and then either side. So it's just a slight wearing in that area, which is normal. You saw how much I was like squinting in the sun and everything like that, so that's pretty normal for me. I have to say, like from here up, I'm super happy with how the foundation has worn. I'm taking kind of the forehead to be pretty much the best indicator just because it was not disturbed by wearing a mask or anything like that. And I mean, overall, the foundation looks really, really good. Like I said, I didn't touch up my makeup at all with the exception of reapplying my lipstick because, you know, eating and stuff like that. So I think overall the foundation is looking pretty good for 10 hours on something that is a skin tint. And I think that the waterproof claim is also pretty good. I'm not about to jump into a pool to prove that it's waterproof. Do you remember when those were a thing, when people would do their whole face of makeup and then hop in the shower or a pool or something to show that it was waterproof? We're not doing that here, but I think that it's going to be pretty water resistant because like I said, it was pretty warm outside. It was about 80 and it got a little sticky. So I think the foundation is wearing really well. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so I can share my final thoughts on the collection. All right, I'm feeling pretty good, pretty confident about my feelings about this wear test. I think this is one of the longest days that I've ever worn makeup. Usually I'll wear makeup for like 8 hours and not really longer than that, but today was a long day. And aside from my errands, I did housework, I did all kinds of stuff, and I think that the foundation actually held on pretty well. With my final thoughts, let's go ahead and get the brushes out of the way. I actually really enjoyed the Airbrush finish brush. I like the duo fiber and the shape. Do I think that this is a necessity? Not really, but I do think that it applies the product really well, and I did prefer it to the sponge. I do see myself continuing to use a product like this, but for example, if you have any of these Sonia G fan type brushes, you could probably use those and enjoy them just as well. The nice thing about this brush is that it is synthetic, so it's going to absorb a little bit less product, and I thought it blended it beautifully. It's very soft and easy to use. I was actually pleasantly surprised with this brush. Not the case with the all over bronze brush. This is just not a specific shape that I enjoy for bronzing. It is a really soft brush. It's a little bit more dense, I would say, than the face brush. The bristles are packed more tightly together. It is described as a duo fiber brush, and I can kind of see that, although like I said, it's more dense, so it's harder to see. I would not recommend this for application of the bronzer. I do think that it would be really good for cream blush or cream contour because I think that it would move the product really well. I was able to successfully apply the bronzer, but overall I preferred a fluffier blending brush to this one. So if you were considering this brush, honestly, it's a pass unless you want to repurpose it for something else. Cream blush, I think, would be a good choice. With regard to the foundation, I would say that if you're trying to guesstimate your shade using, the swatches that they have online and stuff, then I would probably go one shade lighter than you might think, because when I saw them in person, I did feel that they ran a little bit darker than I would expect. Usually my shade is, kind of close to the halfway point between the lightest and the deepest shade, and in this case I'm shade number 3, which really caught me by surprise. So I would say maybe estimate one shade lighter than you think. In terms of coverage, this is going to be sheer to light coverage. Maybe you can get a light medium coverage, but if you're a full coverage lover, you're probably not even looking at this right now. It's not going to be that kind of product. It is super glowy, so when you apply it, you do get somewhat of a Tin Man effect. It's not that pronounced, but if I were going to compare it to anything, I would say that it's very similar to how it looks if you apply the Charlotte Tilbury Superstar Youth Glow, that product. It kind of has that type of finish. Or if you've recently added the Auric Luminizer to your collection, it's kind of that much luminosity. I was able to tone mine down using the corresponding bronzer, and I felt better about it then. And then also when you see yourself from a reasonable distance as someone else would be looking at you, your skin looks very dewy and it doesn't have that metallic look from, a reasonable distance. But if you look up close, it has a sheen, so make sure you enjoy a luminous finish and then you might enjoy this product. I do think that it lasts really well. I don't feel that it has to be necessarily set, although that probably would have helped me out since I was wearing the mask and everything. I just personally don't set my foundations, and I feel that my skin feels comfortable. It doesn't feel tight, but it also doesn't feel super hydrated. I don't see any emphasis of any of the lines that I have on my face, especially around my forehead and again, my smile line. Overall, I like the product. I'm going to continue to use it. I think that it delivers what it promises, and so if you are interested in a product kind of like that, then this might be something that you might enjoy. I like it. Happily adding it to my collection. With regard to the bronzer, I don't think that it's necessarily anything that unique if I compare it to other bronzers that I've tried out recently in the powder form. The packaging is definitely different. The marbled effect, of course, is nice to look at, but like I said, it may give variation from one to the next, even in the same shade number. The two lighter shades, I think, are going to be really light. Like I said, I only saw the second shade in person, and that was pretty light. And so if you usually struggle to find a bronzer that's light enough for you, you may be able to find one in this line. Between this one that is number 3 and number 4, the main difference was that the number 4 was a lot more red in tone, and hopefully you were able to see that in my, on the slide swatches. And I did find that the deeper bronzer did go pretty deep. Of course, there's always room for improvement on either end of the spectrum. I'm very happy with this shade that I chose. I like the product. Again, not necessarily over the moon with it, but I think that they work together really well, and it makes me feel a lot more comfortable bringing down the shine of the foundation. But now any powder would do that. If you use powder blush, powder bronzer outside of this brand, then that's going to bring it down anyway. Or even if you decide to set your face, that can bring the luminosity down just a bit as well. Very nice product. I think that there's some versatility in the shade ranges there. With regard to the undertones, I'm very glad that this one didn't have a red undertone the way that it was described on the Sephora app. And again, I'm going to enjoy having it in my collection. Overall, I think that the products are really good. They deliver on what they promise, and so I have to give them a good review. So again, just as a reminder, I'm a more dry to normal skin type. I have more mature skin. I'm over 40. I don't have problematic skin. My skin is not sensitive or acne prone or anything like that. So I don't have a lot that I necessarily want to cover up. I mostly just enjoy evening out my skin tone and giving myself a little bit of glow. It's a little bit harder for me to determine how they might function on an oily skin type because I don't have oily skin. But because I feel that the foundation dried down and it's waterproof, it may be a little bit more resistant to breaking down from oils in your skin. But I would definitely recommend checking out more reviews. I'm sure there's going to be lots of them on YouTube within a matter of days. I did also want to remind you again that any kind of imperfection that you have on your skin, especially pores, they are going to be highlighted by this product. So you may want to use different primers to address your concerns before you go in with a product like this. Those are pretty much all my thoughts on the collection. I'm going to keep them in my rotation and enjoy using them, especially in the summertime. That's going to be everything for this video. I hope you did enjoy it and find it helpful. And if you did, please don't forget that big thumbs up for me. I will have all the products linked down below in the description box along with the other makeup that I'm wearing on my face today. A lot of them will be affiliate links, which means that if you shop through my links, I do earn a small bit of commission, which really helps my channel that is otherwise super small. And that's a great way for you to support my channel if you choose to do so, and it costs you no additional money. Otherwise, I absolutely understand. Please feel free to Google the products on your own. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you're doing really well, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon on my next one. Bye-bye.